Hello and welcome back to Let's All Laugh At, the football podcast that thrives at George's expense. Let's just get into this, shall we? I've got Johnny and Andrew here. I hope you guys had a better Christmas than I did.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that was all right, thank you. Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, not so great.
Yeah,
But
well, you guys discussed our second most recent thrashing against Liverpool last week, which I honestly wasn't I didn't have internet for that episode at all. I messaged Dan to tell you guys, but he must not have told you until after you'd recorded. I wasn't avoiding the game as much as I wanted to. I was determined to go on and take my punishment like a man, but that didn't happen. So, and now no one will believe me for the rest of my days. But I'm here now.
do you want to go through the Liverpool game again?
But the thing is, I was planning to with Dan because I thought there was, of course, the one time when Palace and Liverpool played, the Palace fan and the Liverpool fan both aren't there. So I wanted to get all I need to say is it was a shit show. Do I really need to say more than that? And then yesterday, arguably even more of a shit show against not a bad team, but not as good a team as Liverpool, and a much more abject performance when we needed a reaction. 3-0 against Aston Villa. Honestly, what do I say? I said at the end of the Liverpool game, we needed wholesale changes in that team because what sort of manager doesn't make wholesale changes after you lose 7-0 at home, your heaviest home defeat of all time? We didn't. We started pretty much the exact same team. The only changes we made, one of them was enforced through injury, and the other one was Benteke back from suspension. So effectively, if Roy Hodgson didn't have to make any changes, he wouldn't have done. I mean, that's not just bad game management. There's no game management even there. Like, I've backed Roy. I've said people have treated him too harshly, but I have to be fair. When he doesn't do well, I'm going to criticise him because I tell people all the time to give him credit where it's due, so I have to be the same. And the last two games have easily been some of his worst. Well, Liverpool is statistically his worst at the club. And, we have Leicester up next tomorrow, which I've got no faith in whatsoever that we're going to win, because why would I? Leicester are blinding, especially away from home. And then Sheffield United still haven't won a game all season, lined up for us to lose that game and give them their first win of the season. If that happens, I really can't have any objections with sacking Roy. I can't, because I said at the beginning of the season, this season is a write-off. We just need to get through the season, start the rebuild with the likes of Eze that we brought in, and as long as we stay up and stay away from danger, Roy can leave at the end of the season, at the end of his contract, we can replace him, and we start again. But the way this is going, it's honestly hard to see where the next win's coming from. And I understand we've been in this situation a lot of times, and that's why I do have faith that we'll get out of it in the end, somehow. Got no idea how, but we always seem to, because it's just what we do. But it's so, I mean, to say I'm worried is an understatement. I mean, the state of my Twitter timeline is unbelievable.
I'll tell you what, though, George. Watching the game yesterday, I mean, we started off okay. I mean, Zaha had a chance in the first 2-3 minutes where good save from Martinez, but after that, Villa took control of the game, and once Villa went down to 10 men, I mean, whether Ming should have been sent off, I mean, that's neither here nor there. But you wouldn't have believed that Villa were the team with 10 men. It was poor from Palace. I mean, there was not a single moment in the game where I thought Palace were going to score a goal. It was very poor. I thought Zaha. I mean, I like Zaha. I rate him quite highly, but I think he's got an easy ride at Palace. It's just a personal opinion. I think he's got an easy ride. I think he can be awful, and he still get picked because he's a top man. And
I don't know if he's got an easy ride, because I don't know if you heard the commentators in that game, particularly comparing him to Jack Grealish. Talk about chalk and cheese. One of them gets all the praise for drawing the foul. One of them's a diver. It doesn't take a genius to figure out why they're doing that. So maybe amongst Palace fans, because I think we have a lot of sympathy for him, because let's face it, he shouldn't still be at the club. But for neutrals, for people who are supposed to be professionals criticising him, I don't think it's fair at all. So
yeah, I mean, I get that. But the thing is with Zaha, I think he's a decent player, and I would have loved him at Arsenal. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's got a bit of an attitude problem, Zaha. I think he seems like yesterday with the Mings thing. I mean, I don't think Mings should be sent off. To be honest with you, I think I thought just book them both. And I know Mings got sent off for a second yellow. Again, I don't think it was a yellow card. I thought, but even with it's quite lucky for Palace that Villa didn't have 11 men, because I think it could have been 5 or 6 otherwise. It was just poor, really poor. And I don't know where Palace go from here. I don't know. I mean, to concede 10 goals in 2 games, is not ideal. And after the against Spurs, after battling back to get 1-1, I thought they turned a corner. I thought they decent players and all that, but the last 2 games has been it's been dreadful, and that's being polite, I think, as a neutral.
Yeah, Andrew, you got any damning statistics you want to throw my way just to get them out of the way?
Really could have Johnny says it could have been 5 or 6. Like it was quite nicely that Ollie Watkins got man of the match, considering he didn't score, but he did everything but score. Like he was really good in terms of playing from inside forward, really leading, doing really well in the line. I think it could have been more as well because Villa took off Bertrand Traore, right? He was tearing it up, to be honest, when Tyrone Mings got sent off. So, I mean, that was a big thing. Like, it was 3-0, but it would have probably, it was a right decision to send Tyrone Mings off, of course. But it would have been much, much more, really, if Traore had stayed on the pitch. El Ghazi, keeping it hard, scored an incredible goal.
Yeah, Ollie Watkins. We could have apparently had him for 10 million, had a 10 million pound release clause. We fluffed it up trying to get him for later, and then he goes to Villa the next year. So I suppose it's just lucky he didn't score against us. Don't know how, because like you said, he was unbelievable. Exactly what we need. I mean, you talked about you wouldn't say no Villa were playing with 10 men. I mean, we lost to Brighton 3-1 last year in an absolute hammering against our biggest rivals. Most embarrassing result since we've been promoted, bar none. It made the exact same mistakes, and we're saying the exact same things 2 years later. We haven't learned a thing in 2 years. Like, I really don't blame Palace fans that say they want to make a change now. The only reason I'm saying I'm against that is because I think it would risk us staying up for no reason right now. If we lose to Sheffield United, then that's very different. I think we're at a very big risk of going down. I wouldn't blame us for making the change then. But I think that just purely because of Roy's record of actually keeping us up, even last year we scored 31 goals last year, had a terrible, had a threadbare squad and still managed to stay up. So if he can keep us up then, I'm confident he can keep us up this season. But it's hardly the way you want to go about doing it. I mean, we all agree there needs to be more long-term planning at this club. I think we've definitely moved in the right direction in that regard. But I mean, the next manager appointment, we don't want to appoint anyone who doesn't have Premier League experience because of the Frank de Boer debacle. I mean, that's like saying we don't want to sign anyone from abroad. We don't want to sign any English strikers because Patrick Bamford was crap. Like, it's such a ridiculous thing to limit yourselves to. There's plenty of good coaches out there with good records that you can do your research into that could work for us. You've just got to do your research properly. Like, I don't know. I don't even want to bother suggesting names at this point because I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's going to do much good. But I just hope we have the right person lined up by the end of the season, and I hope we start looking at names right now in case the worst does come to it. But I don't know. I don't know what's left to say about us.
Relegate you. I don't think he'll relegate you.
No, I don't think so. But
he's like pragmatic. He always gets the results when you need it. I don't think he'll relegate you.
No, I don't think so. But even if he doesn't, I think. The cracks are widening every season, and I think here is just a step too far. I think he's the oldest manager in Premier League history, Roy Hodgson, let alone this season. So I think it is time for him. I think it is the time for everyone to move on. I don't want him to tarnish his legacy any further.
I think that's ageism, George. I think there's, it doesn't really matter how old they are. Like Robson was doing fantastic up until 71, to be honest.
And you sacked him, yeah.
You played Frank.
It's not the fact. Well, I mean, I wouldn't give a shit about his age if he was getting results and doing exactly what he did in his first season, to be honest. But it has slowly been getting worse and worse. I thought we were improving this season, but then we go and have results like that. I mean, maybe he'll go on to win 5 in a row and we'll finish 8th or whatever. I don't know, but I can't see it happening.
I think the problem for me, what I saw yesterday, is that, I mean, I know Liverpool are probably the best side in the Premier League. Not today, obviously, because the game against West Brom was awful. But anyway, but it's like the Palace players didn't learn anything from the Liverpool game. Like yesterday, it was like there was a lot of jogging about, and there wasn't much. I mean, Villa are a good side, but they're not world class or anything like that. But the way that the Palace players, they weren't tracking back, they weren't making tackles. They were just lumbering about, and that was more alarm bells for me. The players, because they just didn't seem up for it. And when Villa went down at 10 men, it was Villa that were more up for it, and Palace really didn't take advantage. And that would worry me more than anything else, is that even down at 10 men, Palace didn't take any advantage and didn't even look like scoring a goal, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make this the last point on Palace because I don't want this to turn to the Palace podcast. But, Johnny, I want to talk to you about, we were talking before the podcast about the comparisons between Arsenal and the Arsene Wenger situation. I mean, because in that case, you had a manager who was undeniable. I think we can all agree was well past his sell-by date. Wasn't the manager he used to be, and there were arguments that could be made that the change was needed to be made. But it really, you had someone who was getting results and but was also mixed with a lot of bad performances. But after he left, it took him leaving and Arsenal being in the situation they are now for people to appreciate the job he actually did. And what I see at Palace right now is people disrespecting Roy Hodgson in the same way. I'm not saying people who are criticising his football or the results, because I don't blame anyone for doing that. I've said the exact same thing. I'm talking about people who say that he's a fraud or don't recognise the job he did in keeping us up in the first place, because some people do have short memories, and I see parallels with that situation so much. And what I fear most of all is us to be sitting bottom of the Championship in 5-10 years time and saying, do you know what, Roy Hodgson actually did pretty well with us. We really should have appreciated him a lot more, because we haven't been able to move on, and our expectations have been raised so high. We feel like we're entitled to the Premier League football, entitled to top 10. Like, it really isn't. I understand that. I can understand wanting to do better. I want to do better. But there's a difference between that and having that of your minimum expectation as well. And I feel like if we're not careful, those expectations can get away with us. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, with Wenger, I mean, I was a Wenger out at the end of it, because I think he was I think he should have gone probably 2-3 years before he went. But I think with Wenger, he was badly let down by the players as well. A lot of the time. We can all talk about tactics and things like that, but sometimes once the players goes over that white line, if the players are not going to listen to the manager and follow what the manager wants, then it's not really down to the manager. It's down to the players. Wenger got let down by the players numerous times, and I feel the same kind of for Roy Hodgson at times. I think he's a nice guy, Roy Hodgson, but I think sometimes he can come across as too nice, and I think the players kind of go, well, I'm not going to get dropped because it's Roy Hodgson. He's not going to get rid of me.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah,
I mean, he's already come out before the Leicester game and said that we won't make wholesale changes after conceding 10 goals in 2 games. I mean, what are you supposed to think? I mean, in fairness to the players, what are you supposed to do about that? If you're not going to be dropped, how can you expect to be incentivised to do better?
I mean, exactly. And I mean, if I was a Palace, even an academy player or someone in training and going, oh, do you know what? I can't do any worse. Do you know what I mean? There must be some.
Tyreek Mitchell, the academy player, had the best defensive stats in the whole club for like the first 5-6 games he played. Patrick Van Aanholt's let in 10 goals in 2 games, and he's still starting over him. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if I was a Palace, even someone who's on the bench quite a lot, I'll be knocking on Rodson's door tomorrow morning and be like, you know what, Gaffer, I want, give me a chance, because we've let in 10 goals in 2 games, so I can't do any worse. And especially one of the youngsters from the academy or something like that, because they bleed the club, they want the club to do well. And I think, as Arsenal, I find that a little bit now after yesterday's result against Chelsea. Bring the youngsters through who bleed the club, and you might get results.
Remember Kirbishley at Charlton. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my thought as well. Because Charlton were the exact same at us. They flirted with Europe a couple of times, and then they thought they were entitled to it, and they got rid of him. And my God, was that the worst mistake they ever made? Yeah. I mean, I'm glad they did, obviously. But in terms of us, yeah, we do have to be careful what we wish for. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean Roy Hodgson doesn't have to be changed. I'm saying we have to be careful about. I'm talking about our mentality post Roy Hodgson, about what we expect from the next manager, because we can't get in someone hoping to have one good season and then all of a sudden it falls apart after that, like what happened under Alan Pardew. That's not good enough. We want someone who can build something with us, which I know is a lot easier said than done. But for me, a plan, like you said, a plan B, and like Johnny said, working with younger players is a must for me. Those are the 2 things I want in a manager most of all. I don't really care who it is, as long as they can set us up properly to get the results, set us up properly against the teams, play attacking against the teams we need to attack, play defensively against the teams we need to defend against. I understand managers have their own signature styles of preferred 11s, and they don't like to waver from them. But if good managers have to, they recognise the need to get results and to tinker with the team when they need to. And Roy Hodgson just isn't doing that at the minute. So, anyways, I'll move on finally. We'll move on to a bit more positive note. For once, Johnny, I mean, what a reaction for you guys. 3-1 against Chelsea. I think it's safe to say this was exactly what Mikel Arteta especially needed.
Oh God, yeah, and I put on Twitter yesterday, on Facebook yesterday, early morning. Mark my words, Arsenal will beat Chelsea today, and everyone laughed. Everyone going, "You're having a laugh, you're delusional." There was something about yesterday that I just knew we were going to win it yesterday. I had a Chelsea are a good side, but they lost 3 of the last 4 games, and they've got some decent players, but also there for the taking sometimes. And yes, they proved it. Apart from the first 5, from the last 5 minutes, it was a very one-sided game. Again, Arsenal could have probably had 4 or 5. Yes, they was a brilliant performance. To a man, we were superb. The youngsters, Emil Smith-Rowe, I'm a massive fan of him. He should be in the team more often. Bukayo Saka, I've been singing his praises all season. Love him. Great to see Martinelli back. He caused absolute havoc as well. It was just a great performance. It was well needed. Massive. It's a massive win. We're still way off where we want to be. We're 15th in the table. Let's not lie about it. We're still well off. But to beat Chelsea, we're a good side. And we've got relatively. There's no easy games in the Premier League, but our next 2 games are relatively easier, and hopefully we can build on that. But it was a great result and great performance, and we thoroughly deserved it. To be fair.
Yeah, you mentioned about the younger players. I suppose, first of all, why do you think it's taken Arteta so long to actually play them, given the results that you've had? And 2, is this just this clearly has to be the way forward for Arsenal now? You've got players here who have been neglected, who want a chance to prove themselves. So, and they've beaten, one of the top 6 teams in the country. So this has got to be the way forward, surely.
Absolutely. And I think if I'm Willian and I'll be worried of getting back in the team because and that's a difficult thing for Arteta now because he's got players like Willian who are on a lot of money who are not who didn't play yesterday because of whatever reason. When he is back again, he'll expect to be back in the team, and it's down to Arteta. It's going to prove what kind of manager Arteta is. To go, hold on, you're in this team on form, and at the moment, I know Emil Smith-Rowe's only played in the team a few times, but from what I saw yesterday, he deserves a bit more of a chance because a bit more creativity, which we've been lacking for so long. That's what we need, and players like David Luiz, who I've been a big critic of, at the same time, he might struggle back. He should struggle to get back in the team, and the youngsters I think they're the way forward because they love the club, they bleed the club, and that's what fans want. Fans can get behind that sort of thing. When you see youngsters like Bukayo Saka, who he's definitely made his mark this season. I think he for the Euros next year he should be on the plane as far as I'm concerned. But it's good to see youngsters get a chance, and great to see Martinelli back. We've missed him because he could hurt anyone. He really can.
Yeah, Andrew, do you have anything to add to that?
I think from Arsenal point of view, he was almost forced into picking that team.
Yes.
So David Luiz and Willian both had not COVID, but they had illness, and then Gabriel was out with COVID contact issues, wasn't he? I think it was a blessing for them that he was forced to play them. And now it'd be interesting to see if Willian is fit. Does he go back to him? Because now definitely Martinelli and Smith-Rowe needs to start.
Yeah, it's managers don't have to make changes even when they get thrashed, as Palace have demonstrated. So when they do, they deserve credit for it. So the thing about Arsenal though is it is still a big run of games coming up. Brighton away is the next one. For God's sake, please win that match. I need them to drag for our sake as well. I need as many teams dragged into that relegation battle as possible, but especially Brighton. But you haven't exactly got a good record. I don't think you've won there since they've been promoted.
No, dreadful record against Brighton. They beat us in July, the first game back from the lockdown, I think, or second game back from the lockdown. They beat us last December. They've got a decent record against us. The only hope is this result against Chelsea is a starting board. Is that even a phrase? Starting board? Well, if it isn't, I've made it up.
Springboard.
Springboard, that's the word. Yeah. My mind went blank. I was like, what's that phrase? Yeah, springboard, that's the word. Yeah. But who knows? We may well lose against Brighton. Who knows? But hopefully, with this result, it's a big result. As I say, we are well off. I can't get too excited about it because any other time to beat Chelsea 3-1 at home, we'd be in the top 4 and we'd be going, what we're looking for. Long way to go. But it was a big result and a great performance as well. I was really impressed yesterday, and hopefully we can kick on from here.
Yeah, so we'll move on to you finally then, Andrew. Newcastle, not been a great week for you to be fair, losing to Man City last night, and then the exit against Brentford in the Carabao Cup as well. I know you weren't particularly happy about that one, especially.
Yeah, the Brentford game was there for the taking, really. They rested players. We played our strongest team, and we didn't really create much. was very lethargic. Callum Wilson had a couple of chances which we have taken, to be honest. The Man City game I expected us to lose because we're a team that doesn't like possession, and Man City dominate possession. Man City have such a great record against us, to be honest. And Bruce he has no game. He has the same game plan whoever he plays, and it's not a very good game plan, to be honest. But now really important because 2-0 isn't too bad, but we're playing Liverpool at home next, and Liverpool will want to have a backlash after the West Ham game. So I'm very fearful of what Liverpool will do to us now. It is very worrying, to be honest, because we're just not keeping the ball, and you can't really win much without the ball. You might get lucky some games and score the odd goal here and there, but overall, it's really atrocious at the moment. It's difficult to watch. But, that's the thing. Especially with no St. Maxim. St. Maxim was the guy who liked the ball to go. Now we don't really have that. We have they're trying, but there's just not the quality there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of comparisons are often made between Roy Hodgson and Steve Bruce in terms of style of play and the jobs that they do. I mean, the difference really with Roy Hodgson is, at least at Palace, he has the benefit of actually coming in when we were in crisis and dragging us out of relegation. Bruce doesn't have that. He came after one of your most popular managers of all time in Rafa Benitez, did a great job getting you back up and re-establishing you, and has just sort of carried that on. So without that history and record behind him, all right, he's done an okay job keeping you steady whilst the ownership problems have been all that. But to be fair, he has been backed as well, and they spent a lot of money. So it's I mean, if I was a Newcastle fan, even though I'm not one that likes to make a fuss about style of play, you know me, and as long as you get results, as a Newcastle fan, given what they've done, I wouldn't be backing Bruce to stay personally.
I think style of play, lots of people say, it's not important and everything. For me, if you're going to be mid-table to lower end of the Premier League, it would be nice to see some nice football. And it's frustrating. It is really difficult to watch us play. Like Rafa, at least defensively, we were so organised, and it was, and we did have a counter-attack threat, especially towards the end of his reign when we had Almiron, Rondon, and Perez. But now we don't even have a counter-attack threat. We just are relying to Callum Wilson to pop up with a goal and save us, and it's just, it's just really difficult to watch, especially when, that if we had a different style, we might, like yesterday, why didn't we go for it a bit? Man City were dawdling a bit, and we could have got in there, but we never really had a go, and it's really frustrating to watch.
Well, because we did the exact same thing against Liverpool, and we lost 7-0. So, and West Brom, Sam Allardyce's West Brom, go to Anfield and get a 1-1 draw, so I don't blame him for doing that.
Yeah, you didn't really have a go against Liverpool, George.
We did in the first. We did in the first half. I don't know what game you were watching. Second half, we totally capitulated. I'll give you that one. But I mean, Man City away as well. We haven't lost the last 2 times we've been to the Etihad by sitting back and hitting them on the break and soaking up pressure. I understand, again, like you say, Newcastle weren't as urgent in counter-attack, and I agree there. If you are going to play defensive, you have to take advantage of the moments you get the ball as well, and that's ultimately the biggest problem I have with Roy Hodgson sometimes as well. But I'm talking about in terms of
against Man City. I don't mind us setting up defensive and counter-attack against Man City. It's when we're defensive and counter-attacking against freaking Fulham.
Yeah.
Scared of. Lookman. He's a good player, but it's not the. They sometimes the way we're so defensive against very average teams. We have players ourselves. We should be thinking how we're going to create, not being so scared of decent Premier League players, but they're not superstars. I've got to say though, I didn't get to mention it. Jack Grealish is on fire at the moment, and I just feel like he deserves so much. I think he might be the best player in the Premier League at the moment. I do think he's playing that well. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I can agree.
No comment.
I'm a massive fan of Jack Grealish. Yeah, I think he's been brilliant. It's very frustrating for an opposition fan the way he wins free kicks and stuff like that, and he's very annoying.
I wouldn't mind him winning free kicks if Wilfried Zaha didn't get slated for doing the exact same thing. That's the only thing that bothers me.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I think the problem with Grealish and Zaha difference. I mean, I like Zaha, and I've said it many times. I think with Grealish, he feels like he constantly delivers. Where Zaha, if he isn't going his way, he does go down a lot, and I think he does moan a lot. Where Grealish, you don't see him moaning a lot. He gets kicked an awful lot.
I don't know about that. I don't know if you saw him last season in the relegation battle. He did have a couple of strops. Like, I'm not having this. Like, I honestly do like Jack Grealish in the sense because he is a very similar player to Wilfried Zaha. You know, he's a local lad. He's a club legend. Scored important goals for them. You know, derby goals. You know, I understand why Villa fans love him so much, and he is a very talented footballer. But you know, I'm not saying that Wilfried Zaha doesn't strop or that Jack Grealish always does, but they do both do it. Like, I'm not having this one that, you know, Grealish is somehow a more mature player than Zaha. He really isn't.
For me, Grealish is just on fire at the moment. And I think as well, there was a sprint like yesterday. I couldn't remember who it was against. But I was like, he's quite fast as well, because you just think about his passing and so forth. But he has actually got a burst of pace as well. I just think he's on fire at the moment, and I think the Villa team is very underrated, and they could easily push the top 6, definitely.
Well, yeah, with all the players that they brought in, there was definitely needed to be a reaction from them after the season that they had, and they've got it, to be fair. You know, again, a lot of Palace fans look at them and get frustrated and say, why can't we be doing the same thing? And I do understand it to an extent, but they're also a lot richer than us. And so, well, I mean, I don't even want to get into that. I've already had my say on Palace. So we'll move on to something a bit more light-hearted. We're gonna try something a little bit different here. As it's Boxing Day, or the festive period at least, it's sort of a popular day in the football calendar. Well, all the games used to be played on Boxing Day at least. Nowadays they moved a couple of them to today. But I thought we'd go back and go across the years and pick out our favourite Boxing Day memory from each of our clubs. It could be games we've attended, games we've watched, or just memories we have in general. Doesn't even necessarily have to be our clubs. But yeah, we'll start with you, Johnny. What's your favourite Boxing Day memory of the past?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's a favourite memory, but it sticks deep in the mind. It was Boxing Day about 3-4 years ago, I think. I went to go watch my local team, Ashford. They beat, I think it was Sittingbourne. They won 4-0. Great day, all in a great mood, you know, Christmas spirit. And Arsenal played Southampton that day at St Mary's. And we lost 4-0, Arsenal.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I watched that on TV. That was a great game. Cuco Martina, what a goal.
Could have been 12, and Cuco Martina hasn't scored a goal since. You know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, dreadful performance. And I remember going, wow, I was watching Ashford win 4-0. I'm in the pub with all my mates watching Arsenal get battered, and I got so much stick that afternoon. But a highlight, Boxing Day, or probably 8 years ago, Arsenal played QPR, and we won 3-2. I think Giroud got sent off that day. I think it was Giroud. But yeah, it was raining.
Smoking in the toilets or something, wasn't that a story?
Yeah, I think that was Southampton, but it wasn't Boxing Day. But yeah, I remember Boxing Day, Arsenal QPR, freezing cold. It was absolutely Baltic that day, and I actually missed the last 10 minutes because the trains at that time they stopped at like 5:30, I think, so I had to leave early, and we were 3-2 up. Like, I didn't miss a goal. But yeah, that's a highlight. But yeah, 4-0 against Southampton. That was dreadful. Cuco Martina, great volley. He hasn't scored a goal since. You know that? Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that we talk about Arsenal have a great Boxing Day performance, and I give you the chance to be even more positive, and you pick out probably their worst Boxing Day result of recent memory. Yeah.
I suppose you've got to be fair.
Yeah, Andrew, you said before the show about you were struggling to remember a Boxing Day game you've actually won. Did you find one in the end?
Yeah, Wigan Newcastle about 9 years ago. I slated Shola Amiobi for most of the match, and then he popped up with the winner. It's typical with Shola.
You slag someone off and he ended up scoring the winner. Yeah.
Typical, isn't it? Like, I remember England played Portugal in Euro 2004. And Helder Postiga came on for Portugal. And my brother's a Spurs fan, and he'd had a terrible season for Spurs. He was like, oh, thank God Postiga's on, he's not going to score. And then Postiga scored the equaliser.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Oh, God.
You should just not stop the end of the basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, no, there's always players where, you say, oh, they're never going to do fine. Again, Palace, reliable as well. I think it was Shane Long, like a couple of years ago. He hadn't scored a goal in about 40 games, something like that. Plays Palace and scores against us. And we still won that game, thankfully. Don't know how. But you can always bank on a player that's on a drought or a team that needs a win. That's why I'm so confident Sheffield United will beat us, because we really are the Santa Claus of football. We really are. We just give teams points and thrashings when they need them.
Someone might say that Patrick Bamford wasn't enough of a man to score goals at Premier League, and then scored the winner today, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, God, don't get me started. To be fair, it's not just me. I mean, Norwich and Burnley fans can say the exact same thing about him. He was shit at the time, so it's not just Palace fans getting rotten luck. I mean, to be fair, I mean, I rag on Bielsa a fair bit, but to be fair, any manager that can make Patrick Bamford into a 15-goal a season striker deserves some credit. Like, my God. But as for my favourite memory, believe it or not, I actually do have some. My favourite memory is actually from last year with Jordan Ayew against West Ham in the final minute. What a goal that was! I was at that match as well. I was staying at my grandma's for Christmas, and we went to the Palace game the day after. It wasn't a great game, to be honest with you. And then we pop up in the last minute and do that. And being in the crowd for that was unbelievable. I think I still have the footage that I recorded of just the crowd going mental. I know that people select phones in crowds and all that, but I'm not someone that just records the whole game and just keeps it stationary. Like, I do it to try and, I'm jumping about with the fans and all that and celebrating, and the camera's going mental. Like, I'm using it to try and enhance and remember the experience. But yeah, another one as well. It's ironic that I'm talking about Villa away on Boxing Day, but 2013, our first season back, Dwight Gale again in the last minute, absolute worldie from outside the box to win us the game and lift us out the bottom three on Boxing Day. So yeah, we do have some good memories. Just unfortunately, we can't add them to this year.
Yeah, I miss going to football on Boxing Day. Like, after you do the Christmas Eve and the Christmas Day with the family, and then Boxing Day, it's like, it's football day. I'm going out all day. See you later on.
Yeah, I wasn't looking forward. The game beforehand sets the mood for Boxing Day as well, isn't it? The game before Christmas, which is why I was absolutely dreading this one, and for good reason apparently.
Well, it can only get better, mate. It can only get better.
Well, I'm not sure it can only get better. I think it could quite easily I think it can always get worse in football. But we'll move on to the let's all laugh at. I'm just going to get mine out of the way. When you concede 10 goals in 2 games and you lose 7-0 again in your biggest home defeat of the season, how can you not be the let's all laugh at? Crystal Palace, the entire club, just all of it. Yeah, that's me done. Johnny, what have you got?
It's been difficult this week because I can't laugh at Arsenal for once.
Yeah.
Game. Do you know what? I'm actually going to kind of there's certain pundits who I wasn't surprised Arsenal won yesterday. I'm not going to lie, because I knew it from yesterday morning. Arsenal going to win. It was not a single doubt in my mind. And I'm going to laugh at Chelsea. I think I'm going to laugh at Frank Lampard because just his face, he was really angry and well, it was a lovely day seeing Lampard unhappy, to be honest. And Granit Xhaka, who I've slagged off so many times, he scores a worldie. Unbelievable. Yeah, but Chelsea, just because I can, really.
Should you not laugh at yourself then for slating Xhaka and then him scoring a worldie, make you look like a fool?
Yeah, I must admit, yeah, because we've been so bad at free kicks. I don't think we've scored a free kick in about 27 years, to be honest. And normally it's David Luiz, and he can hit the ball really well, but he normally goes into row Z normally.
Getting off that free kick in the World Cup about 6 years ago.
Yeah, but I think that's David Luiz's last goal he scored from a free kick, I think. But yeah, Xhaka sat off. Here we go. He's going to go miles over the bar, and then he went in. And wow, what can I say about that? I mean, Xhaka's still got a lot to prove. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to go out and get an Arsenal shirt with Xhaka on the back. That's just unless he carries on scoring.
You chuck it on the floor anyway.
Yeah. Good. That was against Palace, wasn't it, actually? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, we somehow haven't lost against Arsenal for about 3 years. I don't know how, but we play them in January, so that result could definitely come to an end, especially if we keep playing the way we have been the past couple of games, both of us. Yeah, until you mentioned commentary, one thing I do want to add to my Let's All Laugh At, or at least as a side nomination, is the commentators for Villa Palace. The whole, again, Grealish versus Zaha, one gets lathered with praise, the other gets slated for doing the exact same thing, the both of them. Again, I'm trying to hate on Jack Grealish. I like them both. I think they're both good players, but I mean, the bias is apparent for there to see. I mean, Martin Keown was an absolute disgrace. You can tell he's ex-Villa. I mean, again, I don't mind teams being biased in favour of their own clubs, but like, you've got to be fair about it as well. Like, you can have a bit of a joke about it and, be passionate about your own club compared to others, but you've got to be fair to the opposition as well. Even if we were terrible, like, don't dig out individual players for stuff that they can't even really control. Like, Zaha was hardly the worst player on the pitch that day. But anyway, yeah, Andrew, what have you got?
Mine is Kai Havertz. I just think he has been an atrocious signing, considering how much I think they spent close to 70 million. And like the games I saw him play last season, he was playing in a number 10, And I think Lampard is trying to use him as a number 8, and it's just not really working. And his confidence looks shot. And I think yesterday as well, and Frank Lampard probably gets the laugh at, they were crossing the ball into the box, but they don't bring on Giroud.
Yeah.
I mean,
even Giroud found it funny. Like, Hudson-Odoi was picking some really good balls, and they're like, no, we'll bring on a small, diminutive playmaker.
Yeah. It's like Palace crossing balls into the box when Benteke isn't on the pitch, and as soon as he is on, we start trying to pass it around. Like it's completely backwards.
Actually, yeah, I changed my little laugh at Jorginho for that. I mean, I hate his penalties when he does that stupid little jump, and I'm so happy he missed. So happy he missed, because I hate that. I hate that one up. I don't think they should be able to do it. To be fair, just run up and smash it. Don't do this stopping and jumping and stuff. Even Lacazette, I don't like that. Just smash it. Don't do this stopping and stuff. Does annoy me. But when he missed it, I did let out a few expletives when Jorginho missed.
Yeah. For Chelsea, like some of the Chelsea fan channels were laughing at Arsenal before the game. And we're saying, oh, it's going to be 3-0 to Chelsea. They were all laughing. I think Lewis from Chelsea Fan TV or something was saying that. And the way they got humbled was quite funny.
Oh, yeah, I mean, Chelsea haven't been in great form. Do you know what I mean? I know they're sitting, if they'd have won yesterday, they've been up to second in the table, but they're not playing particularly great football. They've got some decent players, but, like yesterday, they didn't, apart from the last 5 minutes and the first 5 minutes, they didn't create an awful lot. I think they had one shot on target. I think that was the goal.
Yeah. I mean, with Chelsea though, I mean, it is an interesting one because they've obviously spent the earth on all these players. The likes of Werner and Havertz and Ziyech and Mendy and all these players. And some of them are working out well, but some of them aren't. Some of them have not taken to the Premier League as well as we thought. I mean, Werner in particular for me is like, I think he's not getting the same opportunities in terms of goal scoring chances that he was in the Bundesliga. He was getting a lot more because he's playing for a much more dominant team. I was with Chelsea, as good as a team they are, the Premier League in general doesn't give you as many opportunities unless you're Liverpool playing against Palace. I swear I'm still not bitter, but I mean, in terms of Frank Lampard, like, I mean, is it safe to say it is the players that are getting him to where he is? And like, had Chelsea not been willing to back him with all those signings, sign all those players, like, we could very well be talking about him like they are Mikel Arteta. We are Mikel Arteta right now. I mean, basically what I'm trying to say is he underachieving with that squad?
Absolutely. I mean, Mikel Arteta's been under pressure, and rightly so, because we haven't been getting results. He has been backed as such with players he's bought like Gabriel and players like that, but Lampard's they spent an awful lot of money on Werner and Ziyech and Kai Havertz, and if it wasn't for them players, I mean they got to start delivering, because Chelsea they're not where they want to be, are they, Chelsea? And like yesterday, they're still well off, and they got outplayed by Arsenal, and I was not expecting that yesterday in the slightest. I knew we'd win because I'm psychic, but I didn't expect that. I didn't expect Arsenal to be as dominant as they were, and we all know that Saka meant that goal. I'm not having it. He meant it, absolutely. Harry Winks meant it a few weeks ago. Saka meant it as well.
I think you should be let's all laugh at this week just for that comment alone.
I'm joking. He didn't really mean it. I'm joking. No, but it was a great finish, to be fair. He didn't mean it in the slightest, but I'll take it.
Thing with Chelsea is they've had a flop with Kepa where they've spent 75 million. They can't really afford flops with Werner and Havertz as well.
Yeah.
They really need those two to come good.
Yeah, I think Kepa sort of left scars on them in a slightly different way, like, because now all the other big signings are expected to perform, else they risk getting Kepa status, so to speak.
Risk skullkeeper Kepa.
Yeah, chocolate legs or something for Havertz, I don't know, or chocolate shooting boots for Werner. It'll just be the whole chocolate team. But yeah, I mean Chelsea. I mean, we all thought they'd be comfortably third place behind City and Liverpool. I mean, obviously City haven't been at the standard we'd expect again, and Liverpool, not running away with the title, and they've had some poor results, but they look like they'll probably retain it. But Chelsea have sort of been, you do. I mean, Lampard hasn't done a terrible job, to be fair. I mean, he did get them top four last season with a pretty bare bones squad in terms of not being able to spend anything. And now he is still keeping them up there, but he has spent a lot more. So, You know, we all know what Chelsea are like with managers. If he isn't successful enough soon, they could pull the trigger. And you know, it's going to be interesting to see how Chelsea fans feel about that, given what a legend he is at the club.
Absolutely, and it's all about trophies at the end of the day. And if Lampard doesn't win an FA Cup or go far in the Champions League or get top four, for instance, then he may well get the sack. And that's the way it is. It's the same as Pep. Pep. I don't think the league matters to Man City. They want to win the Champions League, and I think this year, if they don't win the Champions League, it'll be the same for Pep Guardiola. He'll be sacked.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think Chelsea, as a let's all laugh at, is probably the biggest collective as a whole, because we all doing different stuff. We went for Jorginho, we went for Havertz. I think you said Chelsea as a whole as well, Johnny. But I think collectively, Frank Lampard, yeah. I think the whole Chelsea collective unit is probably a fair one to give there.
It's not
Yeah, I'd go.
And it means Palace don't win it as well, importantly. But on that note, that's all we've got time for this episode. So if you like this episode, be sure to drop us a like and a follow, whatever platform you're on. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify at Let's All Laugh at a Football Podcast, as well as Twitter at LALA_podcast. Be sure to check out Johnny's work at Life's a Pitch. Be sure to check out all of our social media, links in the description as always. Thanks to Johnny and Andrew for joining me. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.